Hello there. So, if you made it through my entire tutorial series, congratulations, that's awesome. 3 hours and 10 minutes, that's cool. It makes my day if somebody did that. If not, that's cool too. Maybe you're purchasing a robotics kit, which you can do directly through me. Please leave a comment or email me at thethinkerteacher, all one word, @gmail.com. Or I can send you perhaps the 3D modeling files. Don't know how I'm going to do this yet. Right now, I'm just here. All right, so now we're going to start building this. All of these parts, most of these parts you can buy off of Amazon. The only parts you can buy, these are called 120 motors, I believe. There's 120 and 180, or no, sorry, 130 motors. There's 130 motors, which refers to the size, and 180. I recommend you get this off of outofdarts.com. I've spoken with the owner personally, Luke. He's a great guy. I don't get any commission from it. I just think he's a great company. You should support him. If you do buy any of the parts on Amazon, please use my affiliate links below. I get a small percentage, something like 3%. It doesn't cost you anything, but I get 3% of the money, which goes towards me and my school. So that'd be great. That being said, let's go through all the parts you need to buy. I got to refer to my notes because this is a lot. So, beginning with the screws, you will need 8 M3, which means metric diameter of 3 millimeters, screws that are countersunk heads, and they are 20 millimeters in length. You also need M3s that are 10 millimeters in length, countersunk head as well. You need 6 M3 nuts. They can either be the square or the hexagonal. You need 13, I believe, of these are M2s, but these are self-tapping wood screws. So they're M2 size. They are countersunk, but they're not machine screws. They are self-tapping wood screws, which are magnetic. Okay, your servos. The servos I recommend, good cost to performance ratio. These are the Miyuzis. The 20 kilograms, I find that the 35 kilograms are kind of trash, to be honest. They don't move well. They have a lot of backlash. But the cheaper 20 kilograms move very smooth. So get these. The biggest reason, if you don't have these, that doesn't matter. What matters is you have a servo horn that's like this. The one that has its horn side on both sides. So get a servo horn that goes in both directions like this. I like them, use these. They're good for the cost. You also need an MG90S servo, I believe it's called, with this type of servo horn. Again, what matters is if you don't use my exact Miyuzi servo, make sure you model around your servo horn specifically. If you don't, it's not going to work. All right, you also need the 130 motors, as I said prior. Get motors that are 2S appropriate. 3S sizes are really pushing the capability of what all this plastic can handle. You can do it. The Super Turret did. I don't typically recommend it. It might not last long enough on you. So I get like smaller 130 motors that are 2S battery pack sized. I also recommend, you don't need it, but servo extender cables. This can make your life a lot easier. It just makes it convenient. You will also need wire, of course. You will need, I recommend if you have both, solid core wire and stranded wire. The solid core wire is easier to go between the two sets of motors, and the stranded wire comes off the motor and will feed backwards. And stranded just is easier and more flexible for your turret to move about. And let's see. Batteries, which I will talk about later. And the only tools you're going to need are a Phillips, a smaller, I think it's called the number 0 or number 1 head Phillips screwdriver, and some super glue, cyanoacrylate, Loctite, or Gorilla Glue is fine. I actually like Loctite a little better. I just have had better experience with it. That's it. I think I've covered it all. Let's start going through it. I'm going to plow this stuff out of the way and then plow stuff back into the way. First step is to attach the legs. This is pretty straightforward. You will need, of course, your 4 legs, 3 of your M3 by 20s, 4 M3 by 20s, 4 nuts, your Miyuzi servo, and what I call the rotate bracket, right? Yeah, trying to make sure I'm lined up so you all can see from different angles. And now the thing you'll need to do first is make sure your servo is centered. So when you attach your horn, make sure it's centered. With these have a software centering, which means you won't know if it's centered or not until you input a software signal that corresponds with the center of the servo. If you don't know what that means yet, that's fine. Build this anyway. On the next tutorial, which goes into the coding, I will explain that. But basically, you put that on here first, screw it down, lock it in, and then now we just put on our bracket. And all you do is take a nut, feed it through, like so, and you line the leg up, and then you put a screw through it. Now, this is kind of an older version that I have here. I actually made this space here a little smaller so that the nut doesn't slip out as easily. Now, important point when tightening this, don't over tighten it. This is going into plastic. You will bend and break plastic. You just go till it's snug, the leg's no longer moving, that means you're there. Boom, the base is done. One thing I recommend, make sure the cord is coming towards you. So with my servo centered, the cord is coming towards me, because obviously like the turret's shooting towards you, towards the camera, cord should be away. Next step, attaching the platforms to the two servos to the servo rotation, the rotation and the tilt platforms. You will need your other large servo, the two rotate platforms, 6 of the M2s, and 2 of the M3x20s. And I start with this. So one of the things I recommend is, again, I would try to get this, you should resize this by doing the offset on the inside or changing the size of the servo horn. Till you get a perfect press fit, it makes my day. Like it'll snap in place. That means if you get a satisfying snap, that means you're down to 1/10 of a millimeter precision. I love that. Now for the bottom, once I snap this on, oh, by the way, you'll see this better from the overhead shot, the flat side facing to the left. So if the cord is facing backwards, flat side is to the left. I plop this on, and I'm only going to attach, you could use all 4 screws. You really don't need it. You really don't. Especially if you get a snap-on. Now, when you do press this in, make sure that you apply some pressure so that the servo horn insets all the way into your platform flush. And again, tighten all the way, but this is grabbing the plastic servo horn. Don't over-tighten it because it'll just chew right through it. Okay, so now we're going to attach the other platform, which will go on it like this. And that's about it. So the way you attach these two together is by using the M3x20. They're going to come through the holes down here. Again, it should just barely slide through the bottom one. And then I line it up here and attach it. This would be one of the tougher screwing jobs because you just have to thread it for a longer distance. Hope I capture this. So I like tightening one all the way down at a time first. So same thing, tighten, do not over tighten. That looks good. Other side. All right, platforms are installed. This is screwed on nice and tight. Now the next step is attaching your other large servo. Important bit here is that, again, once your servo horn is centered, and it's okay if it isn't, you can adjust that later. There's not a lot of unscrewing and rescrewing to do, but you want to snap it in here, and you want it such that the cord is, again, facing in the same direction as the previous cord, which is towards you, right? The barrel's going out that way towards the camera. The cords go towards me. And this one, I like to use all 4 screws. In my old design, I didn't achieve a good press fit on this. Hopefully yours does. So I actually have to hold this in place as I screw it in and go around my camera here. Come on, there we go, grab. So again, make sure it's all the way seated inside. I don't like this angle. Good for cameras, not for me. There we go. Till it grabs. All 4 screws on this one. All right, and there's our completed platform. So you should already get an idea how this works. This one rotates like this one rotates like this. I don't recommend you rotate your servos against themselves without, using power to rotate them. I just don't imagine it's good for the gears. I'm not sure of that, but I don't think it's good. Okay, so this is done. On to assembling the base and magazine and barrel next. To assemble the base, magazine, and barrel, you'll need, well, the magazine, the base, and the barrel, and 6 M3 by 10s. I recommend, so I'm going to place this on its surface like this, so with the screw holes facing up. So the barrel is going to attach like this, and you should see it line up perfectly. So again, you want to tighten this and join the two pieces together, but do not over tighten. So in this case, I noticed I'm twisting this screw and it's not tightening any further. This hasn't been a barrel that's been attached and reattached a few times. That means I've basically just chewed through the plastic. So if you get to that point, just leave it. It should still hold, but you're not going to make it any better by tightening it further. Barrel is attached. Now it's time to attach the magazine, and it'll just line right up. Couldn't be simpler. All right, that's what the magazine and barrel look like when they're attached. Let's move on to the motors next. So the most important step in setting up your motors is soldering them in the right place. So I put both of my motors inside the motor holder first, just to line it up, and it holds it perfectly. At worst, your soldering iron will slip and melt a little bit of plastic. I do recommend you solder this. These things are going to spin up and vibrate so much that it's not going to work otherwise. So I started off on this side. I used solid core wire, put it through the eyelet on this side, and soldered it, and ran it through to the other side. Now, one other super important point here. Make sure your polarities are flipped. So look, I have red facing the front on one side and red facing the back on the other side. And then I go a wire straight across. The polarities have to be flipped because the orientations of the two motors are flipped. So in order to get both of the motors spinning in the same direction, you have to flip where you're connected to on the polarities. So again, I got red in the front here, red in the back here. Doesn't matter, they just got to be opposite one another. And then you run a wire straight across. You can have red facing forward on both of them, but then you have to crisscross your wires, if that makes sense. So I soldered to one side, ran it through the eyelet on the other side, and then just took my soft core wire, this stranded wire, and then just wrapped it around the connection on the other side, making sure that I don't solder any of the wire to the casing, because that's not a good thing. And that's about it. So again, I can make all of this available in a kit, so you don't have to buy these parts separately. But yeah, this is what this looks like. So now once it's soldered up, I actually haven't done it to this one yet, hooray. Now, I do recommend you glue these guys in place. So they should have a very snug fit, but that's not enough because these things spin up so hard. And this is my old Loctite. I hope I can open it up. There we go. Maybe? I think it's still good. I don't know. All right, so I just line a little bit of super glue in here. A little bit of the old cyanoacrylate. I think super glue's coming out. I don't know. Yeah, there we go. Line the sides with it and the bottom. Super important because these things will spin out. Of course, this is a committed step. So once you glue them, they ain't coming back out. I get the, you don't necessarily have to, but I haven't had these things stay in place without it. So I do that, hold that in place for a second, make sure it cures. Obviously, be careful to not use extra super glue and not inadvertently glue the shaft to the motor housing. That's not how a motor spinneth. So I'll let that sit a second, and then we're going to attach the wheels. Attaching the wheels is pretty straightforward. You just push the wheel, push the wheel hole into the shaft. Do make sure, again, you have this fit perfect. It should be extremely snug to the point where you almost have to use maybe like a soft hammer to push this in. If you do, don't just, hammer it directly on the top. Put something on top of it here, like this, and then hammer this bit because you don't want to break the metal contacts. So again, I'd put something on top here and hammer that down to get it in. But when you do this, I would, again, small dab of super glue here. It's a committed step, but if you don't do this step, it's probably not going to stay on. I haven't had good success. So I kind of get a dab in the hole like that. Don't overdo it because you don't want to glue the shaft to the housing again. So a small dab there and there. And we're actually done with the super glue. And then now, I just push this in. Okay, there we go. So what I was checking for, and I don't want to waste too much time since the glue is setting, is I want to make sure these two wheels are in plane with one another. Which it looks like I didn't nail perfect. I don't know why. One's in more than the other, so I'm just going to try to bash this in a little more. Don't recommend overdoing this because I'm just pushing the shaft through the plastic probably. I don't know why mine didn't line up perfect and now it looks pretty good. Hopefully you all can see that. But yeah, you want these two wheels, you know, the spacing between the wheel and the motor holder to be the same. And these two should look like they're about the same distance away. And that looks pretty good. You also want to make sure they're perfectly straight. I think I got that pretty well. We'll find out when I put it together. Next step, we're going to attach the motor holder to the magazine. So real straightforward. The magazine or the motor holder just slides right on over the magazine. Boom. It should nestle in. And yeah, when you spin these up, you should have nice clearance between everything, right? It should be very small tolerances, but definite tolerances. I tried to make this a very precise machine. This was a lot of tweaking to get this just right. But I'm pretty satisfied with the final product. Mine sits a little off center here again. I don't know why that is. But it is definitely good enough. And again, slight tolerance and clearances between everything. So yeah, now just 3 of your M3 by 10 screws. And that's it. Same deal. You tighten till it's snug. Do not over tighten. Here's a completed product. Looks like that. Again, things should be spinning great. Nothing's rubbing in. Looks like things are going nice and straight down the barrel. Yeah. Looks good. This one should work very well. Next step, we're going to attach the magazine and barrel to the base. So look at that, we're basically almost there. So that's going to go on like here, but I recommend you take what I call the tilt platform. You're going to snug that in underneath here. Maybe. Easier when you're not on camera. Oh my God. Here, like this. That snugs in underneath here first. And then I plug this guy on top. It's kind of definitely a two-handed job here. I will drop a nut into the inset here. Boom. And the screw goes straight through it. Boom. All right, here's what it looks like thus far. So again, all my wires are facing in one direction. That's nice and that's great. And yeah, we're looking good. Now we just basically have one more step. I lied. 2 more steps. First of all, let's attach the servo rings. The way the rings are oriented is important. You do have a top ring and a bottom ring, by the way. So the bottom ring has the hole. Well, I think it's easier just to show it hopefully on this camera. The bottom ring, the hole is further up top, and the top ring, well, the hole is further towards the bottom. And so that the bottom ring just slides on here first. And you use your M2s to secure that in place. Watch on this part because you can just dig into the plastic. And you know you got it right if it's, you know, pulling in. That looks right. Other side. This actually assembles pretty easy. I'll say that. I redesigned this a lot to make this as easy to assemble as possible. And I also had a goal of reducing the amount of screws you had to buy, because I make this for students in my class. And I want to make this as inexpensive as possible. I want to make something that's awesome and inexpensive. How else would you want to do it? You'd be a crazy person to do it any other way. So, God, I don't even know if this is showing up on my B cam. All right, last step. We're just going to attach our pusher arm servo to the servo rings. So this is really straightforward. All you do is, I'm doing it the wrong way, aren't I? I'm absolutely doing it the wrong way. Nope. There we go. I do get this wrong a lot. All right, so here's the orientation. With the servo horn facing down, it's going to be pressed into it like this. So the little tabs are on the outside of my servo rings, and then you could see that the servo horn, I don't even know if it's going to show up on this other cam, if the servo horn is basically dead center, which is of course where we want it. And at this part, you just take your last 2 screws. Well, you should have one more after this to attach the pusher arm. But I'm going to go directly through the servo and into the servo ring. And it'll hold it secure like that. Again, be careful, don't over tighten. You can split the little plastic tabs in here without much effort. And there you go. There's our completed Nerf turret. Looks great. This is the final version. I like it with the legs a little longer. I think its proportions look better. All right, the next video is going to be all about coding this. I'm not going to give away every single little coding secret to this because I'm a teacher and I want you all to figure it out. Someone might cheat and use ChatGPT, but more importantly, actually I don't even know if you could achieve coding this specifically with it. It'd be like, how do I code the Thinker Teacher's Work Nerf turret? Like, what? So, but I am going to teach you specifically how you use an analog thumbstick and a servo controller module to rotate your servos. I will go through each thing step by step, and I'm only going to teach you how to use a thumbstick to move one axis. You can extrapolate and figure out the rest. Again, this is intentional. I want anybody who is at home to truly get this. So it'll teach you how to move one axis. You'll have to figure out how to move the other axis. And yeah, that's about it. I suppose I'm going to have to teach you how to code a button because you're going to need to use, I like using a little button to fire this off. That bit I'll teach you as well. Okay, see you in the next one.